In today's Airsoft tutorial, I'm going to be installing one of these Action Army hop units into an Action Army T11 VSR. The Action Army VSR-10 hop units are considered some of the best hop units you can find for the VSR-10 platform. And we're going to be combining it with the Action Army 601 type ball that's already in this thing, as well as the Flamingo bucking and a Panthera Stalker nub, or whichever way around their name's supposed to be. I think it's Stalker Panthera or Panthera, I don't know which way around it is. And this is a very nice little nub. It cost about €10 and it's machined out of aluminium. And they work really well with these hop units and also with Flamingo buckings. But first of all, we're going to open up the T11 and we're going to remove the old hop unit. I've got it upside down because that's just the easiest way of fitting it in frame right now. And this T11 has actually been sabred already, and it's only doing about 430 FPS right now. Reason being is that because the hop unit, or the hop rubber I should say, is so grippy, you don't need to put that much pressure on to get enough hop, so there's less back pressure. Because with an MR bucking, I managed to get this over 500. But doing 430 FPS, I managed to get someone to hit me out at 110 paces. And I'm not talking little shuffles, I'm talking big frigging paces. And if you go by the average pace length, that's about 100 meters. It wasn't the most accurate thing, and you could tell that it wasn't in its comfort zone. But when it's doing 430 FPS, that's 70 FPS below the limit right now. So we're going to start off by removing the fake magazine, which is located here where you'd expect the real magazine to be. And inside the mag is a small toolkit, but I've managed to lose an Allen key, so we haven't got all of the tools there, but it doesn't matter, we'll manage. Next up, we want to remove this bolt here, and then there's a bolt round about here in front of the mag well. We want to remove all three of those. And because this is sabred, I'm not going to be able to lift the whole gun apart because there is the pipe and wire going to the valve mechanism at the back. Right, there we are. We can now split the two halves like so. We have a small bolt on the underside of the receiver which locks the barrel assembly in. So we want to undo that. It's been apart a few times, this rifle, and it still is as solid as what it was out of the box. Now we want to undo the outer barrel by turning it anti-clockwise. And there is actually an O-ring on the outer barrel assembly which helps keep the outer barrel tight into the receiver. I quite like that. I think that's a really good idea. I'm surprised that no one else has done it before. Maybe they have, I just haven't noticed. In the old hop unit right now, we have that Flamingo bucking. And because I had to use a ball of solder for the detent, it's really rough and tight and horrible. So next up, we want to remove the two screws from inside this mounting block. I seem to be incapable of using an Allen key today. There we are. Next up, we want to get a small Phillips screwdriver, and we want to undo the hop arm from the hop chamber. And we'll hang on to all of the bits for this gun because you never know. And then we're going to slide the hop unit along with the inner barrel out of the outer barrel. And the barrel spacers, we've got one barrel spacer out. I think there's only one inside this anyway. Next up, we want to undo some screws on the hop unit. We've got two screws here, one screw there. So we pull the hop adjuster slider thing out. And then we want to remove the two screws holding the two halves of the hop unit together. And then once we've undone it enough, we should be able to pop apart the two halves of the hop unit. That's just me. Oh, where's that gone? And as you can see, we have the Flamingo bucking Tefloned onto the barrel. If we slide this bucking and barrel assembly in, the alignment lug on the bucking needs to go down that slot there. And it's tapered, so it will sort of squeeze onto the bucking's alignment lug as you slide it in. And then what we want to do is we want to take our collet and we want to align it up so the holes line up with these screw holes on the side here. Right, so we're going to take one of the longer grub screws and we're going to screw it in. So we're going to make sure our collet is lined up properly. So we'll look at the other side to make sure that the hole from that one is lined up with the screw hole. We'll now put the other grub screw in. So we're going to tighten those up, and I'm just going to assume that everything's all lined up properly. Don't want to go too mad because that is pressing against the walls of the inner barrel. I mean, you're unlikely to crush that inner barrel because it's stainless steel, but, you know, just be careful. Especially if you've got an aluminium barrel. Oh my god, that'd be a disaster. There's also a really tiny little grub screw that goes in the bottom there, because that screw hole also gets used by the mounting bracket from earlier. But because this grub screw is so small, once you've screwed it in all the way, you should have plenty of space to then put the other screw into the same hole. And as you can see, that collet's pushed right up against the bucking. Bucking's held in alignment. We're now going to, what we're going to do now, we've got our fancy little nub. There we are. Look at that, that is beautiful. But when I push down the hop arm, the patch pops down nice and easily. I've got to make sure not to let the hop arm swing out, otherwise we will lose the nub. And I forgot that we've also got a spring to put underneath there. We need like a tiny bit of grease on the spring so that it will stay stuck into the hop arm. But that hop nub, it like fits in, it's like minute, you know, it's so, the tolerances are brilliant. We want to take this little piece here. I don't think it matters which way around it goes, it looks identical. And you want to put it in like so, and you want to put it in like so the longest bit is leaning against the hop arm, so it'll pull down on the little lug on the hop arm. And we're going to tighten it up. So that's the hop adjuster goes into the screw, or vice versa, the other way around even. And there we are. I think that's about it for this hop unit. I've just stuck the hop unit and barrel assembly onto the nozzle and blown down the barrel. Absolutely nothing is leaking. So we're going to put the barrel spacer back on our barrel. And with our barrel spacer back on the barrel, we're going to slide the whole assembly back into the outer barrel. Right, we're going to now take this bracket and we're going to drop it on like so, and it should all align up. It seems to have done so. Right, that's screwed on. In fact, it's screwed on past the pellet stoppers, all right. Now we're encountering that O-ring, so it's going to get tighter to tighten up. And then what we want to do is we want to tighten it up. And in fact, this one has lined up nearly perfectly. Now, I know this is not the best camera work in the world, and I do apologise, but this thing is just too bloody big to work with. But if we tighten this up, you'll see that the hole in the centre there, if we back it up a bit, you see that we've got threads there. We keep going, we then have got an opening. We want to align that opening up with the hole there. So we can then take the small screw from earlier, this one, and screw it back in. Just nip it up like that. And now we should be able to slide the receivers back together. And we can now install the 3 receiver screws we removed at the start. I'm just going to quickly nip this one up in the middle. And we're also got to make sure we don't get a double feed. Cycle it. No rounds rolling out the barrel. The chrono didn't read that, but it definitely fired. Now, I'm not going to take too much notice of the chrono readings just yet because I haven't actually got the hop unit set to have the correct trajectory. Because when I do set the hop unit on this, that will affect the velocity. Most likely it will increase it if I have to add more pressure. And if this thing was a beast before, when someone hit me at 110 paces with it only doing 430 FPS, this thing is going to be a monster with that hop unit in and with that nub in. If you found this video helpful, then please make sure you leave a like. If you've got any further questions, then please make sure you leave them down in the comments. Check out fulcrumairsoft.com and Fulcrum Airsoft on Cults 3D if you want to support what I do. And if you want to be part of the channel, then please make sure you subscribe too. And once you've done that, you can check out this video right here, where I see if the AAP really is as good as people say it is.